أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. First of all, I want to give my condolences on the shahadat of our Imam, and I also want to congratulate you on his martyrdom. Before I start, I want to share, or I want to make a confession. And this confession I want to make is something very personal to myself. I used to do lectures here a few years back, and I stopped doing the lectures. And I stopped doing the lectures because there was a sense of shame in me. The shame I felt standing here, questioning myself. Am I a good Muslim? Am I a good Husseini? Would Imam Hussein accept me standing here and talking about him? And as you grow and as you learn, this is okay to feel like that. And so this year I made a promise to myself, especially after reading one of Imam Ali's sayings that he says, every day try to do a little better than yesterday. I'm not perfect, but the commitment I'd made myself was, I'm going to try to be a little bit better today than yesterday. And that's why after 3 or 4 years, it's the first time I'm standing here and doing a lecture today. And this lecture is also very personal to myself because this is the question I ask myself all the time. I looked at myself, I come here, the 7 or 8 years we lived in India and the one before that in Afghanistan. And every year in Muharram, it's the same story. Imam Hussein left, made his way to Karbala, the day of Ashura. What happened to Imam Hussein? What happened to his family? It's the same story every year. And I was getting frustrated, asking, why are we repeating these stories every year? What's the point? We know how they killed Abu Abdullah, how he was martyred. We know what happened to Ali Asghar. Why do we need to repeat these stories? And I found the answer a couple of years ago, and this year, in the last 2 years, have been what has happened in the world is the true example of why we need to repeat these stories. From first, we'll look at it from a point of view of Quran. In Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said the same stories over and over again. He has repeated the same stories of Nabi Musa, Nabi Isa, and has brought it up many times. So from a Quranic tradition, when we read the Quran, we're repeating the same stories. Why do we repeat it? Because they are living lessons for us. They are the mirrors for our soul. These Quranic stories are the GPS for our life. They give us direction on where to go and how to behave and how to be. And Karbala is our Quran in motion itself. So you can take all of Quran and you can find the entirety of Quran in the events of Karbala. It's the greatest classroom of justice, dignity, and truth. So there's the reason why we repeat these stories. We repeat it because kullu yawmin ashura, kullu arzin Karbala. Every day is Ashura and every land is Karbala. That's why we need to repeat these stories. It's very important to keep repeating these stories because what happened 1400 years ago in the land so-called Karbala, our beloved Imam, the grandson of the Prophet, the son of Imam Ali, he had an option. He could have given everything up, lived a very comfortable life, give allegiance to Yazid, and lived a very comfortable life until the end of his life. He could have chosen that just like that. And in the last 2 years, we saw an example of the same. We saw that the Palestinians, the Syrians, the Yemenians, the Iranians, the Shias resisted. A lot of people ask, why are these Shias resisting? What is it? What do they have? Iran could have easily been like a Qatar or a Kuwait and just said, you know what, come here, let's do the trade, let's live this life that all of them are living, and we could become a first world, what they claim to be. They could have said that. But the reality is that these people have been listening to the stories for the 1400 years. 1400 years of repeating these stories of Karbala, what happened to Imam and his family. That's why it's important that we repeat these stories. That's why it's important that we have our youth here to repeat these stories every year until they build that sense of resistance, that sense of Husseini, so that when they see what is right, when everybody is standing in one corner saying yes to what is wrong, they can be by themselves and stand in another corner and say, no, I'm not going to take that as an answer. And since these events that has happened lately, there's a separate sense of pride. I don't know about you, but for me personally, there's a new, renewed sense of pride of being a Shia of Abu Abdullah. In the past, a lot of my friends, my personal friends, I have friends at work who are not Muslims, Hindus, Christians. At times they would disagree, right? They would disagree with what we had to say. But now, even those that disagreed acknowledge the strength of the people who do not bend to the tyranny. Our resistance is rooted in the spirit that Imam Hussein, when he said no, when he said no to Yazid, he has preserved, and that perseverance is our dignity, and that's what has inspired the world. We have gained our respect not through because there's too many Shias in the world or because we are the wealthiest, but because of conviction. This is our heritage. This is our inheritance that we have inherited from Imam Hussein. This is why we are a proud Shia. And so this brings me to the youth of this mosque. And before I continue to that, I want to take a minute and a moment and point out to some of our Farash that for last few nights since the beginning of the program have been coming here, have been serving you. Every time you ask them of something, put their hand on their chest, head down, just like a boss, serve you, and commit to this Husseiniya. They are the next flag bearers of Islam. This alam belongs to them. They are the future of this Markaz and this religion. The responsibility lies on their shoulders. And this is a beautiful responsibility. Imam Hussein did not sacrifice and put his head on a spear so that we can come here once a year for a few nights and cry. We need to take his sacrifice and stand and show the world what it means to be Husseini. So when you are in a circle, be that Husseini in your circle. Be the one who says no when everybody else is saying yes. We are very lucky today that we live in the age of social media, the age of access to knowledge, the age of AI, that within minutes you can find questions to your answers, that you can find anything you can ask, and you can dive deep into our own sources and get the answers to your questions. So let this Muharram be the Muharram. Let your love for Imam Hussein and Ahlul Bayt move you from the tears and the beating of the chest to actual actions. Let your pride in being a Husseini become so powerful and confident that it shapes the way you stand, it shapes the way you talk, it shapes the way you walk. Everything you do, let that shape you. Let the responsibility you feel become the fire that keeps flaming Karbala burning for the next 1400 years. We repeat the stories of Ashura and Karbala because it's our lifeline. It gives us a sense of purpose. So stand tall, be proud, be responsible. And when life gets tough, put your hand on your chest and whisper to yourself, Labbaik ya Hussein. When life gets hard, whisper, Labbaik ya Hussein. When everyone is standing against you and you're all by yourself, put your hand on your chest and whisper to yourself, Labbaik ya Hussein. May Allah make us worthy of His legacy. May He grant us the tawfiq so that we live as an extension of Imam Hussein's life and his mission. Salawat.